Ethan wasn't quiet because he had nothing to say. He was quiet because somewhere along the way, he'd learned that saying what he really thought was dangerous. So he developed a talent, not for music, not for sports, for silence. At 10, he learned to smile when he wanted to cry. At 14, he learned to say, "It's fine," when it really wasn't. By 20, people called him chill, easygoing, the guy who never causes drama. And he wore those words like a medal, until one night he realized they felt more like a collar. It started at a birthday dinner. 10 people around a table. Loud laughter, glasses clinking. Someone made a joke at Ethan's expense, a little too personal. Everyone laughed. He laughed too. Of course. But beneath the table, his hands were clenched so tight, his nails marked crescent moons into his palms. On the ride home, he replayed the moment. Not the joke, his response. Why didn't I say anything? Why didn't I just say, that wasn't cool? His brain answered automatically, because they'd think you're sensitive. Because you don't want to ruin the mood. Because it's not a big deal. He'd heard those lines his whole life. They sounded like his thoughts. But they didn't feel like his. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. At 2:41 a.m., he opened his notes app, trying to write down what he wished he'd said. Instead, he found a folder he'd forgotten about. Things I never said. Inside were dozens of notes. To Mom, that actually hurt when you said that. To my friend, I'm not okay with how you treat me when you're stressed. To that girl, I liked you, but I pretended I didn't. None of them had ever been sent. All of them were perfectly worded. His chest felt heavy. It was like finding a drawer full of unsent letters from a version of himself that kept trying to live and kept being shut down. By him. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Storage almost full. He laughed bitterly. Yeah, tell me about it. But something about that message hit a little too close. What if it wasn't just his phone? What if his mind was also storage almost full? Full of swallowed comebacks, buried opinions, no's that turned into, sure, I don't mind. What if all that silence had to go somewhere? Psychology has a name for this. Emotional suppression. You feel something. Anger, sadness, jealousy, hurt. And instead of expressing it, you shove it down. Not because you're fake, but because somewhere in your past you learned that expressing it made things worse. So you became low maintenance. Easy. Unproblematic. But here's the invisible cost. Every time you choose peace on the outside over truth on the inside, you send yourself a quiet message. Your feelings are a problem. Your needs are an inconvenience. If you show all of you, you'll lose people. Over years, this doesn't just make you quiet. It makes you disappear. Back in his dark room, Ethan stared at the screen filled with things he never said. Then he did something small. Not brave. Not dramatic. Just honest. He opened a new note and wrote, I'm scared that if I ever disagree, no one will want me around. He read it twice. His throat tightened. For the first time, he wasn't editing his feelings to sound reasonable or acceptable. He was just telling the truth. To himself. And in that moment, something shifted. Because once you can't lie to yourself about what you feel, it becomes a little harder to lie to everyone else. The next day at lunch, someone asked, Where do you want to go? He almost said, I'm good with anything, like he always did. Instead, he paused. His heartbeat sped up like he was about to confess a crime. Actually, he said, I don't really like that place we usually go. Could we try somewhere else? The world didn't end. No one left. No one yelled. Yeah, sure, they said. And just like that, the boy who lived on mute turned the volume up by 1%. Your mind might be a bit like Ethan's. Full of things you never said because you wanted to be liked, safe, accepted. The question isn't, why am I like this? The question is, what's one tiny moment this week where I'm willing to be 1% more honest? With a friend, with family, with myself. This is Story Minds. If this story felt uncomfortably familiar, hit like so it can reach someone else who's been living on mute. And if you want to be part of a community where we practice turning the volume up on our needs, our boundaries, and our truth, subscribe and stay for the next story. See you in the next one.